So it's fair to say that McLaren have a lot of reasons to be optimistic heading into the 2025 season. They won the Constructors Championship for the first time in nearly 30 years last season, and of course they come into a season where you're not going to get that much development really throughout the 2025 campaign, I would say, compared to previous years, because of course big regulations shift in 26. So with that in mind, if you have the fastest car at the start of the season, you very much have a very good chance of having the fastest car at the end of the season as well. Of course, there's still going to be development going on, and there's an argument to say that maybe Ferrari would have the fastest car, maybe Red Bull, maybe even Mercedes at different points of the year if they get their act together, although I think Mercedes is really unlikely for a few different reasons. But McLaren themselves are rejecting the overall favourite tag for 2025, apparently. They're not embracing the fact that a lot of people are putting them as favourites. I imagine that they are the favourites with the betting odds to be champions again in 2025, which, as a McLaren fan, I would be very much happy if that was the case. But let's have a look at what's going on here. Let's have a look at the quotes here to do with McLaren, guys, because at the end of the day, heavy is the head that wears the crown. And right now, the Constructors' crown is with McLaren. So let's have a look at what's been said. Full article on the F1Chronicle.com as always. McLaren CEO Zak Brown says he does not regard the Woking-based team as the favourites to win in 2025. The last several years have been a roller coaster for the famous F1 outfit, with Brown even admitting the company came close to collapse amid the COVID crisis of 2020. We were on the verge of bankruptcy, he told Automotor und Sport. If we hadn't received a cash injection from our shareholders in Bahrain and an extra financial investor, things would not have continued. But McLaren has been profitable since 2023. Indeed, the amount of sponsorships on the car is the highest of any. They are the most commercially active team, if you will. They have the most corporate sponsors out of any team on the grid, even more than the likes of Ferrari, and I guess it's not a surprise, more than Red Bull. They've got one big corporate sponsor relatively, that being Red Bull themselves. Other ones, of course, but you get my meaning with that one. Not just that, McLaren won the Constructors World Championship in 2024, even if Lando Norris fell short in the drivers' standings. But the British driver said in an interview for the World Economic Forum this week that he could smell the title. It was within reach, said Norris. This year I need to fix certain things, work on them and come back stronger, and that's what I'm ready for. I think one thing that we've realised as a team now is that we need to make it easier for ourselves to win races. But last year I was close and I had that feeling, okay, this is more or less than what it is. I will disagree a little bit there. I know what he's saying, because they could have won the title. They could have done it. Had they been absolutely perfect, it still would have been very tough. But I will disagree slightly there, because I don't think Norris got within, what was the closest points Norris got to within Verstappen? About 30. I don't think he ever got within a race win. Just to say he could smell the title it's a little bit strong in my opinion, but I get what he's saying. Red Bull officials in particular are pointing at McLaren and Ferrari as the early favourites for 2025, admitting they have the most consistently fast cars at the moment. But Brown denies McLaren is the overall favourite. It would be arrogant of me to think that, said the American. For me, there are 4 teams that can win, and we are one of them. Team boss Andreas Stella says a big step forward for McLaren was being able to fully control the destiny of its wind tunnel testing and aerodynamic development. When we were still in Cologne at Toyota, said the Italian, we'd finish a new part and it'd take 2 days to get to the wind tunnel. Now we can test it in 2 hours. The downside of being the reigning Constructors Champions, however, is that McLaren will now have the lowest allocation of wind tunnel time in 2025. But Stella says that he's not too worried. We are focusing on quality rather than quantity, he insisted. We have increasingly strengthened our knowledge and introduced more efficient testing procedures. I mean, to be fair, you could make an argument to say that McLaren had the best upgrades of 2024. Certainly most of them were hits rather than misses. And of course they had a few parts that were banned as well after they were introduced, which really tells us that you're onto something. When you get parts that are banned, just like, oh, you've exploited that loophole there, let's close it, let's get rid of that. That's how you know you're doing something right in Formula 1. None of the team bosses will admit that, but it's true. You got to push the regulations as far as they can go, to the point where the FIA is like, nah, that's a bit unfair, we'll ban that for the next race. That's how you know you're doing something good. But yeah, I mean, for me, McLaren should be the favourites, really. They're not going to openly say, yes, we are the favourites, because that's too much pressure. That is doing the opposite of managing expectations. That is going a bit too far, really. But I wouldn't say that it's like going to be easy for them now. I mean, for me personally, I wouldn't put put Mercedes in that battle personally. I feel like that is too much of a step up for them. They were a long way off it on the whole in 2024. There were some races when they looked really good. Las Vegas, Belgium, Silverstone. I mean, even races that they won, such as Austria, they were not the fastest team during that weekend. They only won that because of Max and Lando colliding. So there is that as well. So I feel like Mercedes are not really going to be in that battle this year, especially in the constructors, because, you know, to expect Kimi Antonelli to be a top driver in his rookie season is really asking a lot. I'm not ruling it out completely. I think he's very, very talented, but I feel like to be a constructors champion, you need to have two drivers that are very consistent. And arguably McLaren didn't have that last year, but I would say McLaren definitely do have that this year. You know, Piastri in his 3rd season, Norris in his, what's this going to be, his 7th season. So, you know, they're a lot more experienced. They're experienced of being in a battle as well for the championship. Ferrari, of course, having Hamilton and Leclerc, they're always going to be a threat. And even if Red Bull is one-man team in it with Max Verstappen, they're going to be a threat too, particularly in the drivers. Although I think Lawson will do better than what Perez did last year. Then again, that's not really saying much, is it? But what do you guys think? Are McLaren the favourites for the Constructors Championship in 2025? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below as always, guys. And we'll see you soon for some more content, news, opinions, everything in between here on the F1Chronicle.com. Have a good one, guys. See you very soon.